I'd like to talk.
You want to talk?
You're listening to Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday, the official podcast of Black Fawn Distribution, broadcasting live across the planet and retransmitted on all major streaming platforms. Tonight's program is brought to you in part by Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Deadly Grounds Coffee, Twisted Teas, and of course Canada's #1 genre film company, Black Fawn Distribution. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't make it, so here's what you get.
It's really not that bad.
You weren't going that long.
Here's your host, Benner from Black Fawn Distro.
Okay, and welcome back to the program. I am your host, of course, Benner from Black Fawn Distro, and this is another episode from Takeover Tuesday. And of course, I'm joined with my co-host, Kels McNells. Kels, how are you? Welcome back. Thanks for coming back for a third program. This is episode 43 of the show, which is pretty awesome. And hey, guess what? We don't have to do any of that weird, like, sort of introductory stuff. People know who you are. And if you don't, you can always go back and catch episode 41, which we did a few weeks ago with Brigitte Kingsley, which gives Kelly her whole big introduction and long-winded sort of talking spiel from myself. But Kels, how you doing tonight? How you been?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Pretty good. We've got a pretty awesome show tonight. Of course, I'm talking about the star of Cult Hero, which is an amazing new sort of like genre-bending action awesome movie that just dropped on home video. Actually, you can rent it on iTunes. Highly recommend that you do it. But of course, the star of that movie, Ry Barrett, or one of the stars, I should say one of the stars, because obviously Liv Collins is also the lead in that movie, and she's fantastic as well. But I highly recommend checking it out. I'm so pumped to have Barrett back on the show. This is his third time, so he's done the hat trick, which I think it's only him and Heather Buckley that have ever been on the program 3 times, which is pretty cool. So we'll have to come up with we've got some hard hitting questions, right? We've been working all week slaving on these questions for him. So it should be pretty entertaining. But hey, listen, before we get to anything, we've got a new format. Everyone knows about it. But of course, let's get to some of that stuff and jump into the news, I guess. Should we do that? Yeah, I guess let's so, right?
Yeah. With the news.
Here we go.
Top story. Top story.
We'll give you the world. We'll give you the world.
This may be the most important decision of your life.
Can't stand the heat. Stay out of the kitchen.
Any special message for all the kids watching at home?
You can't stand the heat. Stay out of the kitchen.
Top story.
Remember, we care. We care.
There are certain inherent risks that come with the territory.
Top story. Top story.
We'll give you the world.
Top story.
We're back with another edition of the news. I've got my hat on. That means it's serious business around here. Of course, I'm talking about new thrills and fresh kills. It's our new news segment. I should have prefaced that by saying we are actually still broadcasting live to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. Of course, if you have a question, if you've got a comment, please leave it down in the comment section below on whatever platform you're tuning the show in on, and we'll try and include you as part of the program as we go. But listen, of course, new thrills, fresh kills brought to you by Deadly Grounds Coffee. Of course, they are one of our sponsors of the show, and they have just made they've got this new line called Schlockbuster, which is this right here. This one's awesome. It's called the Texarcist. It's peanut butter cup coffee. It's amazing. And of course, I wouldn't be I'd be remiss if I said that Deadly Grounds Coffee didn't make our brand of Black Fawn Distro coffee. Of course, Appetite for Caffeination Sweet Toffee of Mine, which is now restocked in our store. And shout out to Chris G. I think he's going to be doing some promotion for the coffee, hopefully this week, to let everyone know it's still there. If you need an extra kick, you need some rocket fuel in your life to get you up in the morning, please make sure you pick up a bag, because you know what, we did the marketing for it and we told Brad what we wanted at Deadly Grounds, but he's the master, he's the coffee guru over there, and he killed it for us, as well as all of his other coffee blends and lineups are amazing too. So listen, if you go to Deadly Grounds Coffee, if you go to their website and you use the code Takeover, you'll actually get 13% off your entire order at the store. And also, they're opening up new locations all over the place, apparently. So big shout out to Brad. It was awesome to see him at Shockstock last weekend. And yes, go to deadlygroundscoffee.ca and use the code TAKEOVER for your order, 13% off the whole thing. Okay, that's my spiel, Kelly. Let's get to it. New thrills, fresh kills. Let's go. Top story. What do we got?
Well, we've got The Wrath of Becky, which is being released on May 26, 2023. It's the sequel to, I think, 2020, titled is called Becky, which starred Kevin James as a neo-Nazi, which is really interesting to see him take on a much darker role. But of course, this film is fantastic so far. It's from what I've heard, it's been premiering at South by Southwest and got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes from a bunch of reviews from its reviewers. So I'm very excited to see this one. It sounds like it's really brutal, really intense, and basically all the spunky ass kickery you'd want to have as like a teenage girl.
Yeah, you were saying it's like John Wick, but with a
yeah,
teenage girl,
it's like John Wick for teenage girls,
hitman.
essentially. Yeah. Which
Very
I'm
cool,
all about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's hitting theaters in May 26th, and of course, let's dive into the body count as well, because we've been talking about this. Is one of the things we wanted to keep a close eye on too, is just like box office performance of horror films or genre films in North America as well as globally. And of course, Evil Dead Rise continues to slay at the box office. We got $60.5 million domestically, $132 million globally, and it's only been out for a couple weeks. I should say, Kelly, you know what? The last episode, I kind of grilled you for not seeing Scream 6, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that, no, I have not watched Evil Dead Rise, but I'm going to see it this week. So good. I just ran out of time, and I apologize for that, but I should have an update as to what I think about the film. But listen, if you haven't, if you want to check out our review of the Evil Dead franchise as well, we just did a Hot Stove from Hell. I'll just throw up the banner here. Takeover Tuesday, Hot Stove from Hell. Of course, great episode that you can check out on YouTube. And we had some awesome guests and talking about the Evil Dead franchise, which kind of excluded the new one because it hadn't come out yet. But we're hoping to update. I will get on that. So yeah, I'm sorry.
It's my turn to grill you on this.
Comments on the box office though. What do you think? Do you think do you see horror kind of? It still seems to perform like really, really well.
Yeah,
lots
absolutely.
of hits from last year, and this seems to continue that trend.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like horror is kind of becoming like a bit of a heavy hitter at the box office just in general, which is really fantastic to see because it means we're going to be getting more of it, which is amazing. And I feel like this film in particular, Evil Dead Rise, which is an excellent film that you really should see. I greatly enjoyed it. A fantastic continuation of the franchise. It kind of goes in a bit of a different direction. I really enjoyed it. I think you will as well. And I encourage you to see it so that I can talk to you about it a little bit more in depth because it's really, really great.
Okay. To be saved for a future episode. Perhaps.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So just our upcoming events. Of course, we've got Niagara Falls Comic-Con coming back down to Niagara Falls on June 9th, 10th, and 11th this year. Of course, Black Fawn Distro is going to be heading down there as part of the Falls Horror Fest, which is the horror section inside of Niagara Falls Comic-Con, which is really, really cool. They've got a killer lineup this year, including I think it's almost like I'm pretty sure it's a full Terrifier 2 reunion. Which is very, really cool. And, Doug Bradley's going to be there. I think Kane Hodder's going to be there too. So if you're a horror fan, you definitely want to come to this one. They usually have a pretty good lineup of guests each year, but this one's pretty big. So yeah, we were so busy, and I'll be honest, we were kind of like, I don't know, are we going to have time to go? And then we saw the lineup. We got to go. So we'll be down there. And then I think myself and yourself, the two of us are going to be doing a panel down there. That's the word in the street.
Mystery panel.
Mystery panel. That's because we've already planned it out, and it's a big mystery for everyone.
Yep, we've planned it out very thoroughly.
That's right. Not because we don't know what we're doing on yet, but No, trust us. It's gonna be a really, really cool stuff. We'll think of something to do. I don't know. We're tossing around some ideas. We might even do a live. Maybe we'll do something live, like on that for the show from Niagara Falls Comic-Con. I don't know. We'll see. And speaking of, all that stuff, do we want to tell the people kind of what we're doing for the next episode? Or are we going to save that next hot stove?
Next hot stove. I think we can talk
Okay,
about it. We don't have a date for it yet, though. We gotta clarify there.
We don't quite have a date yet, but the idea is to do it before Niagara Falls Comic-Con. We're actually going to do our next Hot Stove from Hell episode of Takeover Tuesday on the Terrifier series. So we got some cool guests lined up for that. Make sure you check that out. Keep your eyes peeled on social media. Check out our Instagram. We'll be posting about that very, very soon. But I think, hey, you know what? For people that are tuning into the program live, thanks so much. We really do appreciate you. And you get the tidbits of information before anyone else. So, okay. So let's move on to the chopping block, right? So we did this fancy new graphic. Check it out.
So fancy.
Okay, so this is our second chopping block episode, which is just myself and Kelly decided, hey, let's do a little review section. We love physical media. We love streaming media. We just love movies in general. We just want to give a quick shout out to films that we think have sort of, are worthy to go check out. And, just our personal opinions. This doesn't mean anything. We don't come to your house and lecture you if you don't watch these movies, but we're just saying, listen, if you're looking for some cool stuff to watch, check this out. Kelly, what do you got for us for streams and screams?
I want to recommend a little film called Deadstream that is currently streaming on Shudder. I saw this as part of Fantasia Fest this past year, reviewed it for iHorror.com. It is super duper fun. I am such a fan of found footage horror film, or that type of weird kind of subgenre that's being created of like influencer horror, which is kind of bizarre in its own little field. That's beginning its kind of snowball into an actual set subgenre. But this one is super fun. It's really cheeky, really silly, really goofy, really slapstick. It kind of reminds me of like a Gojiram Haunted Asylum meets Evil Dead 2. So it's just kind of got that really great combination of fun and humor and horror and really, really gross stuff, which I greatly appreciate.
Awesome. And of course, you said it's streaming on Shudder right now.
That it is, yes.
Yeah. So if you've got a subscription to Shudder, I believe you can get that through. I think you can get that through Amazon too. It's like an add-on.
You can,
as well,
absolutely. Yeah.
So really, really great. It's still a great streaming platform for SVOD.
So worth it.
If lots of great content on that on that platform too. So make sure you check out Deadstream. My physical recommendation, and of course, I think we have to. Don't we have? I forgot to play your thing, but
return some videotapes.
My recommendation for getting physical this week is Nightmare Alley, the new Del Toro film that just came out. It came out a while ago. Obviously, it came out last year. But this is the 4K release from 20th Century Studios, which I think is like, whatever, it's a subsidiary of Disney. Hey, Disney, take note. We talked about this last time. You don't have a Barbarian release, which is ridiculous. But this Nightmare Alley release is absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't got a 4K set yet, or haven't dived into the format, this is one of the films I would tell you to start with. It's just the colors. It's very, very, it's very, like, it's a dusty film. It's obviously set in the 30s. But everything is so crisp and clean. It looks fantastic. The lighting in it pops really, really well. It's sort of, obviously anyone who's seen the film is very gothic, obviously falls into it's Del Toro's wheelhouse, but, fantastic performances, a great film. I love Willem Dafoe in this film personally.
Yes.
And also I just, and Bradley Cooper, amazing, as well as, Cate Blanchett, of course. If you have a 4K set, if you're looking for something kind of like, just like, you want to put in a film to test out and show your buddies and show your friends and say, listen, here's what 4K can kind of bring. It's really, really awesome. And when you sit down and watch the full movie on a 4K set, it's enveloping. Like, you really do feel like you're in the movie and you're part of it. So, Nightmare Alley, that's my recommendation for getting physical. And before we go into our next section, we said this last time, we said, listen, we've got a prize, and that prize was a copy of Smile on Blu-ray, as well as a Salem Frights toque. We said we'd pick a winner for the best person, or the best comment question that we had on the show. And of course, Kelly, do you want to announce this?
Yes, I would love to announce this.
So winner, chicken dinner.
Yep, is Brie Kupfer. You are our winner. Brie asked the best question on episode 41 of Takeover Tuesday with Bridget Kinsley. So please get in touch with us. There is an email address. I think it's takeover@blackfawndistribution.com. You can also message us on Facebook, Instagram. Find a way. We don't know where you live. We would like to know where you live. Not in a creepy way, but just so we can get you your prize. So get in touch with us and we'll be sure to send something along to you shortly.
Awesome. And of course, we will verify who you are. You left a comment, I believe, on YouTube, so we'll verify that. So there's no funny business. But please let us know. We'll get this prize out to you. And I believe we have another prize. So and also we decided to start this just so we could play this one sample. So let's play it.
What's in the box?
All right, so what's in the box? 1 second here. I'll just open this box here.
What is in the box?
I'm opening it up. That's a Seven reference, if anybody didn't understand that. But and oh, holy jumpin'! Look what we got. We've got a copy of Black Phone on Blu-ray, which is the awesome Ethan Hawke movie, obviously, that came out last year, directed by Scott Derrickson. And yeah, I mean, it's this is a wicked film, and we've got it brand new, sealed, and it's for anyone who actually leaves a comment. Or what did we decide on this? We kind of went back.
So leave a comment or a question. Tell us about why you dig about the show. Ask a question to our guest. Basically drop in the comments, let us know that you're here, and we will take our favorite or the best, and we will win a special prize. We really need to get like a drum roll audio thing for that whole like pulling it out of the box. I feel like that would be appropriate to have a drum roll fill for that. But,
well, you could just tap on. I'm already running the samples over here. Like I don't have time for that. I can hear.
What's in the box?
The sample again. There you go. So 2 samples, price of 1. I'll see what I can do. I'm we'll see if we can get a drum roll going.
Yeah.
Hey, let us know if you want a drum roll for the What's in the Box segment. Leave a comment down in the comment section below on whatever platform you're listening on or tuning in on. Of course, we're broadcasting live to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter, and of course, rebroadcasting on all the major streaming platforms as well for podcasts, including Spotify and iTunes. Of course, if you're listening to a rerun of this, you can't really enter this contest, but make sure you tune in live next time and we'll see what we can do, right? So anyway, listen, we got a lot of stuff to get to. We've got Ry Barrett here. He's in the green room right now. He's getting ready. He's getting prepped. I can see him. He's giving me the thumbs up. It's awesome. But of course, before we get to anything, that's the end of the chopping block. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the chopping block. That's what we do here. We say everything twice and then I get cut off by the sound. Okay, so we're back, and listen, let's introduce our guest tonight because I'm pumped to get this guy on the air and really talk about everything that he's been working on. Of course, I'm talking about none other than Canadian acting legend. Yes, I said legend, Ry Barrett. He is the star of the explosive new action flick Cult Hero, which was recently nominated for 6 Canadian Screen Awards. And we're going to get into talking to him about working with Collingwood Film Co., which is obviously, quote unquote, from the Globe and Mail, the rogue film studio that's actually made this film, which is getting a lot of great publicity, a lot of great push, and of course it's available on iTunes and wherever else you can grab films. So Ry Barrett, he's also the star of an ungodly amount of other films, including The Heretics, The Demolisher, Life Changer, The Drownsman, In the House of Flies, If a Tree Falls, Antisocial, Ejected, Never Lost, and Exit Humanity, just to name a few. We'll be chatting about the directors he continues to work for / maybe I want to say slave for, but this, like this guy contributes everything he can into every performance. He does really lay it on the line and puts up so many great sort of contributions to Canadian genre film. And of course, we're going to be talking about the projects that he's had a hand in developing and where his love of film truly originated from. So we've got Ry Barrett live on the other side, and let's take a look. Let's take a look at Cult Hero before we get there. Here's a look at Cult Hero. We've got Ry Barrett on the other side coming up next.
I'm Dale Domazar, cult buster, an expert deprogrammer. And this cult is busting.
Who among our number ordered a clown?
There's no starship coming.
I want my marriage to return to how it was. We're happy, right?
I think you're going to fit in perfectly here. Are you ready to join the Ascension?
I'd like to report a cult here at Owen Sound, so I need a cult buster. And I guess you're my guy, so I need you to go there. Who are you? And burn them to the ground.
Last time you'll ever see me, I'm going home. Sending to glory. This is the last time.
About that job offer. Accepted.
I'm never gonna go down. This may be the last time.
We may have a bidding war. You'll get infiltration, extraction, and all I need is my per diem, gas, food, lodging, maybe a haircut.
Where is going on here now? Bradley, I'm here for you.
You need me a hell of a lot more than I need you.
Don't tell me what I need. This is insane.
Ascension is the way. His name is my name. My name is your name. My name is just the same.
Live on Takeover Tuesday, Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday. Of course, that was Cult Hero, the new action film, explosive new action film from Collingwood Film Co., of course, and director Jesse Thomas Cook. And of course, one of the stars of this movie, Ry Barrett, good friend of the show. Thanks again for coming on the program. Love having you here, man. How you doing? What's going on?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Doing
So,
good.
I mean, if anyone couldn't tell, this film is an absolute blast. It's so funny and it's so ridiculous in a good way. I think I can say that, and I think I speak for everyone who's actually seen the film. It's so much fun to kind of like just see you dive into this performance. Of course, Liv Collins is amazing in it too. Of course, Tony Burgess is Tony Burgess. I think honestly, we're gonna get to Tony in a bit, but I really do feel like this was like. Every time I see Tony, I'm like, this is the role he was born to play, but this is the role I think he was born to play. But
Yeah.
we'll get to your arch nemesis in a second. But listen, man, just like if I don't even know where to start with this, but I really wanted to dive in with like, you play this insane character called Dale Domazar, who walk us through the character for people out there who might not know without giving away any spoilers. And of course, maybe like where you started drawing the inspiration from. Obviously, a lot of it was on the page, of course, but it takes someone like yourself to kind of say, okay, here's what we're going to do with this guy. Walk us through that process. Like, how did you get from point A to point B?
There's a lot that happened there. I mean, the first thing was just getting the script. Liv and Jesse sent it over, and I was just like, "Oh, this sounds great." It's called, I'm like, Cult Hero. I'm like, "Oh, this sounds interesting." And then they said the character they want me to play is Dale Domazar, and I just start flipping through the pages, and I'm just like, "Oh, this is gonna be fun." And I was thinking he was gonna get killed off or something like that, and then it just keeps getting better and better. And I was like, "Oh, this is fantastic!" It's like an Odd Couple film with two completely different characters who get paired up against this crazy psycho death cult, basically.
Yeah.
So like that was my first initial, and I was like, okay, I just immediately started picturing, because I didn't talk to Jesse or Liv really about anything right off the bat. I just started reading the script, and I just immediately started picturing like Magnum PI or like classic Chuck Norris playing this kind of character. And it just kind of stuck in my head, like the Hawaiian shirts and stuff like that. And then then some notes were sent over, and he was supported. So it's supposed to be sort of like a Dog the Bounty Hunter type, but even more like kind of like neo goth, like all leather and metal and like all that kind of a look. But then I kind of had this, I don't know, I just had this feeling to it. I talked to Jesse, and he was digging it, and it just kind of went with like the whole feel of everything too. And just was kind of a different take. But then, and then from there, it just kind of grew. We talked about it more and more. And I kind of started having this voice that was just going with the lines, and I didn't know if it was going to work. We did a table read, and I kind of did it, but I kind of took it down a little bit too. And I think we were all kind of, I don't know, we'll see how it works on the day. But then when we were there shooting it, it's such an elevated movie. Like just everything's crazy. Everything's crazy. And it just kind of, it just worked. It just fit.
Yeah, and of course, it was pretty funny too because I caught this movie when it would play Blood in the Snow last year. So shout out to Blood in the Snow Film Festival in Toronto. Premiered at Fantasia, right? Which is a big deal for anyone who doesn't know. It's one of the best genre film festivals on the planet. There's a few of them up there. South by Southwest, Fantasia's up there as well. I caught it at the Toronto premiere at Blood in the Snow Film Festival, and I remember like I showed up like a little bit late. I was just late getting back into town, and I popped in, and I was just like, I remember sitting there watching it, and I didn't want to bother anyone, so I just kind of sat by the side, like by myself, and I was just like the whole time I was just sitting there chuckling because like we've known each other for years, and just like the whole like. When I left, I was like, I couldn't stop saying like Dale Domas, like I couldn't stop saying the voice. Like, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to like, yeah, we're going to have a few drinks at some point and we're going to say that name until like forever. So, was the voice yours too? Or or was that something that kind of Jesse and Tony sort of brought into the mix and said, no, it's got to sound like this, or where'd that come from?
That, I think that was pretty much all me. Cause yeah, originally he was, Dog the Bounty Hunter as a reference. I mean, he's kind of got a bit of a gruff voice and stuff like that too. So like, I don't know exactly where we're in the middle of that, but then I just felt that he kind of needed to just be such a machismo over the top, kind of like a relic of a different time stuck in this character. Right. So I just kind of was locked into doing it. And we did the first scene. The first scene we actually shot was the scene where, one of the cult members, this is not big spoilers, this is kind of still early in the film, shows up at Liv's house, and there's a scene in the garage where that was our first interaction, where I show up with in the trailer there. Right. And that's where I first started doing it. And I was like, all right, this is it. If it doesn't work, Jesse will let me know, and I'll adjust, and we'll figure something out, and I'll do something else. So certain lines, I don't think I even like went as hard there. And then other ones I kind of really drove it in. And then once we did a couple takes, it was like, all right, it seems like, so I just kind of went with it there. But the voice was just kind of a product of what he is. It
brings it all together in a big way for sure. Yeah.
Like, and it does seem like when I was watching it too, I was like, this is so over the top, and yet it's so perfectly placed. Like the comedic timing in the film is very, very good. And you have all these kind of conflicting characters that are, sort of, they're caricatures of people that you would maybe meet. Like there are caricatures of the crazy people that you might meet in everyday life, right? So I thought it was pretty brilliant in that respect. But also like Dale feels like a character that he's sort of like lost in time. And I kind of thought about this, Kelly, when we did our Evil Dead thing, when we were talking about the alternate Army of Darkness with the guy slept too long. He's like a man at a time. Like he doesn't seem like he's from any one decade. Like, he seems like he's this combination of like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and he's just kind of floating around in the 2020s. Like I thought it was
exactly what he is. He's,
still filming everything on camera too, which I love. I think that's a great detail.
So this wasn't your first time, obviously, working with this crew. Of course, you've worked with Liv before, and Jesse Cook, the director, and of course Tony Burgess. Like, how was it working with this team again, and coming in so hot with such a crazy kind of over the top project?
I mean, it's always a lot of fun working with all of them, because it's kind of like a reunion of friends getting back together whenever we shoot, because a lot of the same crew and cast comes back. We call it our like troupe, because they really like Jesse and Liv really have taken some time to find some great people, not just great artists, but like great people to just pull together to do these projects. And so each time we get to do it, it's just exciting, because you get to go back, and it's like summer camp. You go back and you get to make a fun movie and have a great time while you're doing it, and try new things. Like that's the great thing with them, is that they give you like the open door to just try crazy stuff like this. Like I tried something a little wild with another one we did, The Horde, a few years back, and same sort of thing. Like they give you this open avenue to really just experiment and try new things. And a lot of times you might not feel the confidence to do that, like with somebody you haven't worked with before, or depending on like how big the project is or whatever. But having that confidence to just go in and do that, it really like, I don't know, it just lends itself to the whole project, because everyone looks at that and they see it and they try different things, and And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And we, things get redirected and then we roll with it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. They're great. All great people.
And I'd be, of course, like I said, we talked about Tony because I love that man. He's like one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life. But of course, like, he wrote Pontypool. He's an accomplished writer. He's written all kinds of movies and other, other mediums and stuff. But, part of this movie, I think, is driven by the fact that, like he wrote it, and then I think I feel like he wrote himself like into the movie, but I got to have him on the show to ask him that. But he's so brilliant in this movie.
He is.
And it's such a funny, like it definitely it melds so well with your character Dale, because you're so weirdly different, but also so over the top in their odd way that it just plays perfectly. How was it filming those scenes on set? And as well as with Liv too, because Liv is like sort of like, if for people who don't know, it's sort of like she's like the ultimate Karen basically in this movie. So she's very over the top as well. How was it shooting the scenes? Like was a lot of it, was there any ad libs going on? Was it sort of like you mentioned, Jesse kind of saying, hey, listen, let's try some stuff. Was there anything in the film that you were like, hey, let's do another take. Let's really kind of, go for the throat here and just see if we can kind of open it up and be like, come up with some really, really funny stuff that's maybe not necessarily in the script.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. I mean, I think everything that was in the script is there, minus like whatever happens in editing for timing and stuff like that. So everything that was written is there, and there's a lot of really good hilarious jokes in the script off the bat. But there was a lot of ad libs, and there was a lot of like just throwing things in and trying, and like in the middle of the scene, if something worked, we just do it or try something, or we'd adjust with a note or something like that. But a lot of Tony stuff is him on the fly. Like it's just I think there's the one scene it cracks me up. It kills me every time I see it, when he's explaining the ceremony that's going to happen. He's standing at the podium and he's explaining to all of his lackeys. It kills me. Everyone said it literally is a scene that just stands out. He's fucking hilarious in it. And he was like that. I mean, he's like that in general. So he was literally just being Tony playing this character, but like, that's Tony. Like, that's
totally.
Just coming out with stuff on the fly.
Kelly, we got to get Tony on the show. Like we have to, like we might have to book 3 hours, but yeah, we got to put in a good word for us, Garrett.
Like Liv is the same way. Like there's a scene where she does a tour of the house, this like broken down shackle of a house that we end up setting up a kind of a trap or whatever. And she did a bunch of just ad-libbing on the spot doing the tour, where she's like talking about being a songbird and like playing the piano and doing all these just random things, walking around the house. And like, that's what we'd all kind of do. And like in the moment, if it called for it, if there was an open spot to do it, we would throw something in. If it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't.
Awesome. And of course, like the magic of editing, bringing in, all those jokes together is quite an accomplishment. And anyway, but congratulations on the movie for sure. It's doing fantastically well. And of course, anyone who is looking to check it out, you can actually rent it on iTunes, as well as I can't remember, Kelly, you said it was on Hoopla.
Yeah, it's on Apple TV and it's on Hoopla. It's streaming on Hoopla, which is accessible to anyone with a library card, because as we've all learned from our youth in the 90s, having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card.
Whoa, dude. Can you put that on a t-shirt and then get it signed by Dale Domazar? That's what I want. That's a Dale Domazar line if I've ever heard one. What is it? Life isn't hard if you have a library card?
Having fun isn't hard and when you've got a library card. It's from Arthur, my friend.
I might have to do like a little promo clip and use that for the thing. Yeah,
absolutely. So hey, listen, we got some comments rolling in. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Of course, we're broadcasting live right now to YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and of course rebroadcasting on all the major streaming platforms, including Spotify and iTunes. Of course, lots of shout outs to Apple tonight, which is obviously is great for them. But of course, if you can sign up, you can follow us on any of those platforms. They would really, really appreciate it. Of course, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, ring the bell, smash the button, do whatever you need to do. But it really does help get us our show out there, and of course, spread the word about really, really cool projects like Cult Hero. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We might have actually a top. We said at the start, listen, what's in the box? If you want to win a copy of Black Phone on Blu-ray, You just need to leave a wicked comment, or tell us, like, ask our guest a question, or tell us how you rep the show and what you love about the show, and we'll pick someone for the next program. But check this one out, Kelly and Barrett. You'll appreciate this too. Quick question from Sean. Hey there, I'm at a baseball game right now, so I can't watch the show. Just wanted to say, have a great show. Sean, thanks so much. That's the best comment I think we've had in a while. So
if he's at a Jays game, then that's
yeah, that's right, Sean. If you're still listening, if it's a Jays game, I'm guessing it is, right? The Jays in town tonight, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, they're on the homestand, so he must be at the Jays game. So unless you're cheering for the Yankees, Sean, you might be the front runner to for the contest. And let's just see, just a couple of quick comments. Let me see here. Oh yes, we need a Kevin drum roll, I guess. Maybe that's supposed to say Kelly drum roll. I don't know.
No, I think it's Kevin.
Oh, Kevin. Okay.
Yeah. I've got a drummer downstairs. I'll just get him to put together a drum roll.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. You know who I thought I thought we were still talking about Becky. That's where my so yeah. That's an inside joke, everyone. We'll tell you later. And of course, John McIsaac popping in here. Go Hurricanes. Benner with the flex, I guess. I don't know who I'm going for in the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm pretty disappointed, of course. We all know why. But also, like, no Canadian teams yet again. The Final Four is, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. Barrett, we can talk about hockey a little bit later. But Alexander's just saying, hello, Mr. Barrett. Hello, Alexander. Thanks for tuning in. And let me see. There's a bunch of questions in here. So
cheers, man.
Trace Cramp, of course, what's in the box, and she did say something about the Polkaroo. She's still never
I was
met
waiting
you.
for that, yeah.
Tracy is one of the people that actually helps us out at various conventions and stuff. Tracy, we love you. Thanks for everything you do for us, but also over the years has never met Ry Barrett in all of these.
I know, it's weird. We've been at the same conventions probably hundreds of times, but
do you want to give a shout out to Tracy live on the air? She's on.
What's up, Tracy?
Yeah.
One of these days, right?
So one of you is Batman. Like, you can't be in the same room together.
Yeah, exactly. So again, if you've got a question for Barrett, if you want to just please throw it down in the comment section, and we'll try and include you as part of the program tonight. Okay, so let's I wanted to Kelly, any other questions you had for Cult Hero before we kind of move on, or what do you think?
Oh, for Cult Hero, my goodness. I absolutely love this film. I caught it at Fantasia Fest and had a blast with it. And in terms of like your inspiration, I know you talked a little bit about Dog the Bounty Hunter and all that, but in terms of your inspiration for the physical look of Dale Domazar, like where did that costume come together? Was that you involved in the costuming? Was it someone else involved in the costuming? Because it really kind of seals the whole package, I think.
Yeah, the Hawaiian shirts was kind of that was a big Magnum PI kind of throwback to and him and early Chuck Norris stuff. Honestly, like a lot of people see the Macho Man stuff because there is some of that in there too because he's just he's an idol, right? Mm-hmm. He's one of the best, but I also threw in, like, I kind of look at it in a simple way. He's basically Dirty Harry meets Ace Ventura. Like when you simplify it, that's exactly kind of who he is. And but our wardrobe, Carrie Keeling, who's nominated for CSA for it.
Of course. Yeah.
She brought a lot of this. I bought a couple of things, but then she brought a whole bunch, like a ton of stuff. And a lot of the tactical things that he wears in those certain scenes and little details. She had all these little cool details that just added so much to things. And so, like, yeah, it was like a kind of an idea that I had with those shirts, but then thrown in all these other elements that just made it so much better.
And there's some great practical effects in the film as well. Like, there's some really fantastically bloody, gory moments. Can you talk a little bit about the practical effects and how those were all put together?
Yeah, there's some great stuff in there. Especially, so the one scene specifically is it's one of the opening sequences. If anyone who's seen it knows which one I'm talking about, there's a big cult sequence, and it goes into it was a complicated practical special effect that was literally it was production teaming with like special effects, teaming with camera, teaming with basically it was everybody working at the same time, because there was this big contraption built basically to strap one of the actors to, that he could tuck his limbs down underneath, and his legs and his arms, and then the entire thing would pull apart, so it looked like his arms were cut and legs were coming off at the same time. Like, this was all timed with, like, it was literally everybody involved, and the timing had to work perfectly because the blood had to come out at the right time, that the wood slid out, and it was literally production, special effects, and camera, and all the actors all kind of working. It was one of those moments where I was watching. Because I was just standing back. I didn't have to do anything for the scene. I was just kind of standing there watching everything, and then they turned around and I had to react. But watching it, I was just watching it in awe of, like, all these people who came together, did these fucking amazing to make this just great scene. And it's like, it is a key moment in the movie that sort of like kicks off a lot of the plot too. So yeah, it was amazing watching that. And they were all nominated for CSAs too. So
that's amazing. And was the Hawaiian shirt? So let's go back to this Hawaiian shirt for a second. Like, did you pull it out of the closet? Did you find it somewhere? Did someone give it to you? And then you were like, yeah, okay, now we're getting, if I pair this up with a mustache, now we're cooking with gas, right?
Yeah.
But was there a moment where the Hawaiian shirt came into play, or was that?
I think I had bought one recently just to wear, because it was like a thing at the time. Everyone had a Hawaiian shirt on for some reason. But then,
wait, you mean it's not a thing anymore? I bought new Hawaiian shirts.
I'm sure it's still. It'll even be more of a thing now, I guess. I don't
make it a thing.
Yeah. But it was just, I don't know. I had one, but then it was just reading the script, and when I thought of Magnum PI, I just did a quick Google search of images, and he popped up wearing this beautiful Hawaiian shirt with shades on and a fucking awesome mustache. And I was like, that's what he should look like. I don't know why, but yeah. And then it just turned into like even more of a joke of like, what if he just has a million Hawaiian shirts and just is constantly wearing a different one. And then when he goes into like tactical mode or whatever, he goes full like army gear kind of thing. So
yeah, perfect. You got to relax a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And I did create a whole backstory to it to make it sense in my own mind, that he wanted to be a pro surfer and was injured and just always hung on to those things, and then went into the carnival scene, and then that's a whole other story. So,
which is the classic. That's almost like the classic. Like he's all pro quarterback, high school quarterback. But he blew out his knee in senior year.
Yeah, and then they went. And then the Dahmers kids went into the carnival scene after that, and then.
A couple other questions coming in. So Tracy has responded. She said, "Fun fact: Ryan and I were in the same film." Tracy, which film was it? Antisocial? I think it was Antisocial, right? So, which is even funnier that you guys haven't met, but we're gonna make that happen one day. It's gonna be a big thing. But also, just so a couple questions for you, Ry, coming in from our audience. From Alexander saying, "Ry, have you ever made a film in America? And if you haven't, would you want to?"
I don't think I have yet. No. And I absolutely would. There was a couple times where some things were kind of happening and things were on the go, and then it just didn't happen for whatever reason. But yeah, I absolutely would. And no, I haven't shot anything down there yet. I've been kind of like toured halfway across Canada, but there's still some provinces I haven't shot in too. I mean, a bunch.
Yeah, fair enough. And another quick question here. So what was your hardest scene to shoot? I'm guessing they're referencing Cult Hero. So we'll go with that. Maybe it's your hardest scene to shoot ever. But what was your hardest scene to shoot in Cult Hero?
Cult Hero, probably it was just, there was one day where we had there's a scene where I'm giving a presentation to Callie, and she's more just worried about doing a presentation of the house. So we're completely just thinking of different things at this time. And I'm putting on this big presentation. But while we were shooting it that day, it was just one of the hottest days of the summer. It was like, I don't know, in the 30s. And we were shooting this old house where an older woman used to live with a bunch of cats. And the cats had like peed all over the house, and it had absorbed into the wood floors. And we were shooting on the second floor, which is actually more like a third floor because like this, like a huge house, high ceilings. And on top of that, it was just an old personal thing. I woke up with a migraine. So I was like, pop an Advil, trying to focus on this big presentation, which is like a lot of it's off screen, but at the same time, it's like you still gotta deliver it, right? So that would have been my toughest scene just because of that. It was like a perfect storm of just crazy stuff, and we were sweating our makeup off like every 2 seconds, and just trying not to sweat on camera while saying
with a migraine with
ammonia,
cat pee, and it was like that was the worst of it. But it was like the location was great. Other than that, it was the only day that we shot like on the second floor, and other than that, it was fine. But that day was a little trying for everybody.
Yeah, the house is so cool looking. I love old houses like that. It looks absolutely amazing. Did you guys film inside, like the whole, like how much of that was actually in the house and how much is there any sets built, or was it all inside?
So no sets are built. These were all Barry Moore's properties in Owen Sound. He owns the big like cult Hope Acres location. Not the interior, but the exteriors that you see and like all the outdoor stuff that happens there. But then all of the interiors and the outside of the house that we sell, where that whole sequence happens, is also his house. And a bunch of them are in the Horde too. But yeah, he owns all these beautiful properties, and he's slowly restoring them, but it's like so much work, and he's not like in his 20s. So he's doing what he can, but at the same time, it's like they're beautiful to shoot.
Oh, good stuff. And listen, just in the, we always like to be transparent and honest with our viewership and our listeners. And I have made a mistake. It actually wasn't Antisocial that you and Tracy were in. So she's just commented here saying, so it's been like 12 years. We've never met in person. Laughing, crying emoji. But the film was Abolition, I guess, which was not Antisocial. So
that's going way back.
Yeah. So there we go. So sorry about that, Tracy. We'll try and make it happen for you one day. But listen, Barrett, I just wanted to kind of jump kind of a little bit past this movie and kind of take a few steps back in time. But me and you have chatted about doing we've gotten into somewhat a lot of debates about movies and that sort of stuff over the years. But where do you think, like, you obviously love films, you love movies, you've worked in genre cinema for a long time. What's do you recall like how you got into like liking movies? Do you have like any sort of story that you could tell us about like what really drew you to the medium and what continues your love for the format?
I was nurtured to love movies at a very, very young age. Like growing up in the 80s, with a big brother and a bunch of neighborhood kids. It was like out of a movie or something. Like there was a bunch of neighborhood kids, and one of them would rent a movie, or we'd rent a VHS, and you'd have to rent the actual VHS machine at that time too, because barely anyone owned it. And because I was younger.
Sorry, the things that kids won't understand today.
Yeah,
right?
I know, right?
Wait.
You had to rent the machine to watch it, right? But there would be like
a machine that was like
like this big, and it would come in like a case and like padded case and everything, and like the pop top and all that stuff.
Oh, the best.
It was great times, and it was like again the 80s. Like kids are just running wild, unsupervised, doing whatever, because especially in a safe neighborhood that like you didn't. I mean, no neighborhood's truly safe, but at the same time, we would go to one of the kids' houses and go down to the basement and we just watch a movie. And because I was the younger one, they got to tag along with my older brother. Most of the kids are 4 years older than me, and we'd be watching. Like I remember watching The Howling and The Thing and Nightmare on Elm Street's when I was like, I would have been like, I don't know, 5, 6 years old. But I just loved being there with and hanging out with these. And there'd be times where I was like, oh, he's got to go now or whatever. So that's how it kind of started. And then me and my brother, that grew. Like we would start seeking out movies and renting them. We used to buy the big Leonard Maltin movie books that would have all the reviews and all the movies through them. And we just like go through them like it was like our Bible. And then whenever we saw a movie in the TV guide, we'd set the record for like midnight movies and stuff like that, and record everything off of City TV, and then go watch it the next day. And my brother would be introduced to movies and he'd tell me about it, and then we'd go back and forth, and then I'd talk with friends about it, and then everyone would start. And it just it started really young, and it stayed that way, and it only grew the more I got older and learned more about it. And I was really interested in like special effects early on. If I wasn't an actor, I think I'd be like a special effects guy, because I was always interested in that, and like would take books out of the library literally and just like study how to do a gunshot with like pulling a button off. You paint the hole on and you put the button on, and there was like all these little things. And like I'd watch the old Fangoria Awards, like way back when they used to be on cable and stuff.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. Anyway, that's how it started. And then Chad and Gabe, when they came a knocking. Yeah, when they came a knocking looking to make Desperate Souls, I was like, because I wasn't really doing acting anything, but I was working in communications and interested in editing and camera stuff at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wanted me to play the role in it, so that kind of kicked off the acting side of it. And then I fell in love with it. I mean, I was already doing acting in high school and stuff, but I never saw it as something I could do. No one ever told me that I could do that. So then that was that.
Was there a film that you mentioned like watching? Because that's how I kind of got into especially horror movies as well. Like I was always watching the thing that I wasn't supposed to be watching. And I remember going to this guy who lived down the street. He had older brothers too. And I went over there and I watched this horror movie, and it gave me the worst nightmares ever. And for a long time, I didn't actually know what the movie was. And then I remembered a couple things about it. And then I had said something to somebody, and somebody was like, "Oh, I know what that movie is. It's Alive."
Creepy baby.
This was like years ago, but like I was just like, "Oh, is it?" And I watched it again. I was like, "Wow, it's like so different." Like watching it now as like an adult, but then I must have watched it when I was I was probably like 6 years old.
So good.
And I just remember the scene where the milkman goes into the and then all the blood mixes with the smashed milk bottles. And anyway, but my question being, was there a movie that did terrify you when that you watched maybe with your brother and his friends, and that terrified you enough, but also is exciting enough? It's like a roller coaster, right? Where you're like, I need to get more of this.
Terrifying but enticing.
Yeah. I can immediately I can think of three that stick out and they stand the test of time. And I think one of them was rented. We watched like in the basement of my friend's house. It was John Carpenter's The Thing. Stands as one of my favorite films today.
Yeah.
The other one was on a Halloween night. We came back from after trick-or-treating, and my parents put it on, and it was Night of the Living Dead. Just like first time watching it, and I was like, what? I think it was one of the first black and white films that I watched straight through. And I would have been like 5 or 6 years old and just thought it was fantastic. I don't know, maybe I wasn't 6, maybe I was 7. I don't know. And Aliens. It was on I remember it was the first cable screen or showing of it, and it was like a Friday or Saturday night, and we were camping in the backyard in a tent, and we watched that, and I was like so terrified afterwards, thinking aliens are going to come into the tent. I don't know, it makes no sense, but those three right off the bat I can think of when I was young, but they immediately made me love how they were made and like the special effects involved, and just like there was something different about each one of them that made them so great. And they scared the shit out of me when I saw
Aliens, maybe one of the best sequels ever made.
So good.
Other than Terminator 2, I think it might be the best sequel ever made. But
he's really good at making sequels. Let's give him that.
He does all right.
I was gonna say it's really easy to see how you'd be drawn to like special effects, especially after watching a Thing, if that's kind of the impact it had on you as a kid.
For sure.
Because it's so, even if you not watch it today, it's such a fantastic example of using practical effects that kind of work on film. So okay, and so let's there are still some comments coming in, of course. Thanks everyone for tuning in again. We are broadcasting live to Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Please leave your comments in the comment section below, and we'll try and include you as part of the broadcast. Of course, we'll rebroadcast this on all the major streaming platforms, including Spotify and iTunes as well. If you are looking to get in touch with the show or have a recommendation for myself or Kelly, please drop us a line at takeover@blackfawndistribution.com. I'll just throw it up on the screen there. And of course, if you are our winner chicken dinner tonight of or what's in the box thing, please drop us a line there too. We'd love to hear from you, Bree, and we'll make sure you get your prize to you. So anyway, Barrett, let's there's a lot of things going on, and of course you've been on the show before, so this won't be a surprise. So I was going to catch you off guard, but we got to do this, right? So
that sound means it's time for rapid fire, the hard-hitting question and answer segment brought to you by Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager. Hellas Lager? Hellas, yeah.
All right, so I have to crack this open. Of course, I'm cracking open. Well, I'm cracking open actually a delicious SPA, which is also made by Wellington, because I ran out of Hell's Lager today. So I apologize, Wellington, but this is a great beer too. But this is Kelly. Do you want to give our viewers just a share? Just tell everyone what rapid fire is about, and then we'll get some questions. I have to have a big sip of this because it's my nap time.
You gotta chug it for a good second. So rapid fire is a section of the show in which we throw some rapid fire questions at our guest. It is up to you to answer in a condensed or elongated format. It's up to you. Just answer the questions and we'll throw them at you as quick as we can.
All right. Yeah, that's exactly right, Kelly. That's exactly what we practice in rehearsal. Okay, so let's get to it. So Barrett, you've done this before. No surprise to you, but guess what? I was thinking about going back and asking you the same questions, which I thought would be funny, but let's get to it. Okay, so rapid fire. Tell us more. In an alternate universe, is the film The Heretics a gritty sequel to Cult Hero, or could it be a gritty prequel?
Ooh, I say prequel.
Prequel. Okay.
Makes
Awesome.
sense.
Okay.
Because maybe those events like really altered how Dale worked after that.
It shaped him. It made him go into the cult busting business. Is my theory. Right?
Hey, yeah.
Yeah. That was a legitimate question we had too. It's not just a way for us to sell copies of The Heretics, which is available on Black Fawn Distro in our store, blackfawndistribution.com/store. Okay. So rapid fire, you got to pick one. You have to pick one. Who is the more lovable director, Jesse Cook or Chad Archibald?
Oh, fuck off. Not answering.
You got to pick one.
Chad Cook. And Jesse Archibald.
Jesse Archibald. Okay, fair enough. Rapid fire number 3, Total Recall. Okay, could you tell us and our audience about a favorite experience you've had while working on one of the film sets that you've been a part of? It can be anything.
When we shot Matchbox Pictures, Kingdom Come, they shut down a whole highway to shoot this big epic car accident scene. And I just hadn't been a part of something like so grand. And there was 40 cars, and they were a bunch of them were turned over and smashed, and there were bodies everywhere. And anyway, that was that just jumped out because it was such a huge and cool looking sequence.
Awesome. Rapid fire question number 4. Tell us more. The 1990s are seeing a bit of a retro resurgence right now, much like the 80s did a few years ago. We just talked about renting VCRs in the 80s, but in your opinion, what was the best thing about the 90s?
90s was really interesting because the CGI was just kind of becoming to pass and being something viable to you, because Jurassic Park kicked that off. And what's really cool about it is there's some really good movies that used it and some really bad movies. So you can watch, and you can watch how it grows, and you can watch how some people just might have thought they could pull something off with the CGI and then realized they couldn't, and then had to go practical because of it and stuff. I just watched, it was on TV the other night, Congo. I was watching that, and I'm it's just such an example of and it's not a great movie, but I love it. It's just such a 90s movie. And there's so many of those out there that I love me a good 90s cheesy.
I love Congo because there's a line of dialogue in there that's it's Ernie Hudson comes up to, there's those guys looking at the moon or something, and Ernie Hudson's just he hears the sound of the gorillas in the distance, and he's that sound means every gorilla in a 500-mile radius or something wants to have sex with you. So I can't remember what the actual line was, but it's so ridiculous that it's But I love Ernie Hudson too, so he says it so like
the cast is amazing. And the Tim Curry is so funny in it too. He's like, "The lost city of Zinj."
That's when we're like, wow,
says it over and over
a bunch of movie. What else has Michael Crichton got over there? Oh, the monkey movie.
After Jurassic Park, they just exploded everything that he had. And I mean, he has stuff way before that too. Like they're like, yeah, let's do Congo because it has some CGI capabilities, and it's like.
Yeah, I just watched. It's funny too because some films too as well like use both. Like you said, probably because they couldn't necessarily spend all the money, or they just didn't know how to do it. Yeah. And so I think like what I just recently watched was Blade 1, which Blade is like great. An awesome flick, and it's got like some questionable CGI just from basically from the time it was made, but also like some amazing practical effects, like the super like overweight vampire that's like he's like a Jabba the Hutt guy that's like in that thing, and then like even the bloodbath at the start is fucking awesome. That's a great movie, and because that was the point like a few years ago when people were like, Black Panther was like the first black superhero, and everyone was like, what about Blade? Like was made in the 90s, right?
Like, Blade kind of kicked off all the comic book stuff, right? Like when you really look at it, it was
the first Marvel movie. Like
Marvel never looked back ever since. Yeah. They're just full throttle since Blade.
Blade did it, and then X-Men followed, and then it was like bam.
Also, speaking of like grumpy old men and like over the top characters, Chris Christopherson in the Blade movies is fucking awesome too. So shout out to Chris Christopherson. I don't think he gets enough love, but
he's a gem.
Okay, and last rapid fire question: Have your say. The horror genre seems to be gaining mainstream popularity. Is this something that new, or do you think it's something that's always existed? Care to comment?
I think it goes through cycles. I think the cycles are usually connected to how people are feeling either politically or socially, and there's lulls where people are kind of apathetic to certain things. But if you watch the cycles of what kind of movies are successful, it's usually because of whatever's happening in the world at the time or the past 5 years or something like that. And like I'm not just saying that, this is something that like you watch any documentary about the stuff over the years, and like all the great directors and everything, they've noticed it and they've seen it, and if you like look for it, you're like, yeah. And I think a lot of the stuff that's doing well right now is it's very base, and it's like in a way that's like going back to the roots and looking what really does scare somebody or what really people are looking for. If you take something low budget, low budget, but like Terrifier 2 killed it at in theaters and Skinamarink and stuff like that. And seeing that is inspiring, because we love seeing something different and new out there instead of just the same old shit being redone. Not that some of that isn't great. It's cool seeing something different getting a spotlight on it, and something more independent, like outside of the box, getting a light shone on it.
Right. Well, the correct answer to that question was no. But thanks for the insight. I appreciate it. I'm sure our listeners will take something away from that. But no, just kidding. Again, of course, that was our rapid fire segment brought to you by Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, and again, as well, a special guest star SPA. Thanks, Barrett, for being such a good sport. Of course, I know this is your second time in the rapid fire in the line of rapid fire. But listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. But stay put. I definitely want to talk to you about Canadian genre film and what you have coming up next. If you're willing to stick around for a few more minutes, we'll be right back after these messages. And we'll talk some more film with Ry Barrett. Black Fawn Distro. Movies, merchandise, available now at blackfawndistribution.com. Okay, and we're back with the star of one of the stars of Cult Hero, Ry Barrett. Ry, thanks for sticking around. Appreciate you being such a good sport with rapid fire. But also,
I thought about it, and I was like, I wonder if Bender's going to ask me the same kind of stuff. And I was thinking, should I say the same answers? I was trying to remember what it said.
You'll have to go back if you're looking for the first episode of Takeover Tuesday with Barrett. You can check that out. It's actually, I think, I'm pretty sure it's on our YouTube page. If not, it's definitely on our Spotify page, which you can check out. So I can't remember the number of the episode. I think it's 30 something, but it was a while ago. And you also came on and were a guest on our hot stove, our very, very first hot stove from hell, which is when we analyzed the Scream franchise. And of course, you just mentioned Terrifier 2 before the break there. We're doing our new next hot stove from hell, which is coming up, which will date to be announced shortly, but will be on the Terrifier series, Terrifier 1 and 2. We've got some really, really cool guests, potentially some people that worked on the second movie, which is pretty cool as well. And also, I did want to just I'm just going to throw myself up on the screen here a little bit, because Barrett, I thought you would get a kick out of this. I was going to include this in our chopping block section as a movie to review, but it doesn't really fall in the horror genre. And myself and Kelly kind of made a commitment to each other. We would only rep horror in the chopping block, blah, 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 blah. But it's the digitally remastered version of No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan and Tiny Lister. Of course, Zeus from WWE. I just watched this movie and it did remind me a little bit of Cult Hero. Obviously, you just mentioned the Macho Man reference as well. This movie is ridiculous, and it's one of the best films I own. No rule.
Zeus, and he's like,
no rule, no ring, no ref, no rules. I just watched this with my buddy Straps, Kelly. Myself and Straps will see you down in Niagara Falls. But we just watched this, and I got to tell you, like, for some reason, I hadn't seen the movie in like a long, long time. And I always thought that the show that they were on was called No Holds Barred. Like when I was a kid, like I haven't seen this movie since I was like, I don't know, like 8 years old.
It's been a while since I've seen the whole thing.
But the show is not called No Holds Barred. It's called Battle of the Tough Guys. Like, I'm not even making that up. And it's like, we were joking around, like we were sitting around the other night, and I was just like, and then after we watched the movie, we were like, I can't believe that they would think to call the show like why wouldn't they call the show No Holds Barred? Like it was like a UFC type thing. And it was like another funny thing in the movie is just like, we'll see who survives in the this octagonal cage. And we like both looked at each other. We're like, does this where UFC got their got the idea from? Is this fucking movie? But then we also had a thing. We also had a thing where we're like, that's how Vince McMahon had decided it, right? He was just like, we're gonna call the show No Holds Barred. He's like, no, I love
tough guys.
So,
like, we already have the song. It has No Holds Barred right in the title.
Kelly, you got to watch this movie if you haven't seen it.
I've seen that movie. Let me tell you, I love that movie.
It's fantastic. It's so good.
Is Hogan's name Rip?
Yeah.
His name is Rip. And does he do that in it?
Dude,
is that where I got it from?
No, he does this. Okay, so hold on. He does this thing
like that, right?
Where it's not like this, or like you'd think it's like he curls his one finger over.
Yeah, I remember doing weird. I didn't think about that until right now. Because I thought
it's the stupidest thing.
And the other thing
I've seen, it's like, why? And then at one point he's got that on the back of his jacket, like it's like a bicep that he's doing this, and it says "Rip" on the back. It's like,
oh, that's amazing. I completely forgot about it. I hadn't seen that in years, and I saw a clip came up, and it totally reminded me of it. And the scene where he beats the shit out of the car and then pulls the guy out. And he's like, they make Hogan even more Hogan than he's ever, like, he's like elevated Hogan. He's like Godzilla level of Hogan.
And then they also try and make him like somewhat of a leading man halfway through the movie.
And it's like a love interest.
It's so much fun because it's so fucking weird. But then he's holding that guy and he's like, Dookie.
Yeah, because the guy shits himself at the and then it cuts, and that's the end of the scene.
Yeah, that's it. That's just it. That's the weirdest fucking scene.
And there's a couple of scenes too where like the reason I wanted to mention this is so they kind of reminded me of Dale Domazar a little bit. You mentioned the Macho Man thing, and one of the special features on this is the actual, like, there's a tag match between Zeus and Macho Man and Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake. There's the only two special features on this release are two WWE matches, which is amazing.
Zeus ended up going into the WWF after that, right? Like,
yeah. And then it was all a big tie-in, but the movie doesn't make any sense. But it's like there's certain scenes where like happen that I'm like, I watched it and I was like, shouldn't this scene happen before the last scene we just watched? But anyway, listen, bonus chopping block recommendation: No Holds Barred.
I
wrestling
get the theme
masterpiece
song
right
stuck in
there.
my head all the time. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's Bud. It's so good.
Who sang that one? Because I feel like it's one of those guys who did like a bunch of those.
It's Jim Johnston. Jim Johnston was that he was like the guy who worked at WWE that made all the songs, because
he did the whole Pile Driver album, right?
Right. Yeah. And the reason they did that was because then WWE wouldn't have to pay they wouldn't have to pay money for song rights, right? To use them for entrance music or movies or anything like that. They would already own all that stuff. And right. It's pretty interesting too, because like I just watched this thing with Stone Cold where he went to Jim Johnston and said, listen, I don't know what my new music's supposed to be, because he was transitioning to becoming the character, like the Stone Cold character. He said, but it's got to sound like this. Like, this is what I have in my head. And the song he gave him was Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine. He's like, it's got to be that kicking like vibe to it. And then he came up with like the Glass Smashes type thing. And that's the music that we all love today. And we all love to play at weddings. Anyway, sorry, not to digress here.
You can talk about wrestling.
Our audience, we just started talking about No Holds Barred, and our audience ticked up a bit. Just saying. Anyway, but listen, I wanted to talk to you about, at the top of the show when we were doing your introduction, just listing off a whole whack of movies that you've been in. Your resume is packed. We've obviously mentioned other movies that you've been in that we didn't mention off the top. What keeps drawing you back to like Canadian genre projects? Obviously it's location, in vicinity to where you live, obviously. But what keeps drawing, not just as an actor, but also, you've dabbled in writing, you're starting to produce films as well. Like what brings you back to kind of contributing to Canadian genre cinema?
I don't know. It's more the I think the people that I work with, like, I don't know I wouldn't really consider myself like a huge, like, patriotic person or whatever. I don't know. Borders are kind of just a thing. They're just a line. When it comes to like
English, man,
like, you know what I mean though. Like I love my country and I'm lucky for where I live, but at the same time, I think it's just because I've been lucky enough to meet so many people and so many creative people and being able to work with them again and again. But I love the idea of having, and it comes down to what I was just saying about like horror in theaters and that stuff. But people who are not afraid to make something different, something outside the lines and the borders. And there's a lot of, I don't know. I hate like blanket statement to anything, but like there's a lot of stuff that gets made within a certain formula, within a certain tax bracket of things and this and that, and whatever. And I feel like filmmaking and art shouldn't have rules or governing to it. Like it should just be, go out there and make something that you think is entertaining or that says something or that's gonna affect somebody in some kind of way. And there's so many fucking things that are like set in place to stop people from being able to do that, or from stopping it from getting out there, or people being able to like promote their films or whatever. And I just like, I don't know, like working outside the boundaries and the lines of things, I guess. I don't know. It's not always the most lucrative way of doing things, but I'm just kind of always drawn to that. And I don't know. I would do like, don't get me wrong. Like if somebody approached me with a huge project and it was like formulaic, I'd probably still do it. But like, I like having the options to hopefully do both and work with the people who really just come up with something new and are trying.
Do you think there's some truth to like people having to pay their dues on the film circuit and really understanding how to get their hands dirty and how to put in those extra hours? So when a kind of a bigger project does come along, they're more seasoned to kind of take on a project that's bigger, or do you think it doesn't matter?
I think there is and there isn't. I think it depends on the situation and the person. Some people will jump right into something and they just know, or they just have it, or they'll learn as they go. Which is what a lot of people have to do. And then there's a lot of people who are just in it for the wrong reasons, or haven't taken the time to learn the details that they need to. And then when it comes to just paying dues and stuff like that, I'm like, I don't know, same thing. You can't label one way or another. It's like yeah, you should, and you have to respect the people who put in time and do certain things. But then there are a lot of great artists who've come out of nowhere and done nothing, and they present this new perspective, and you got to respect that on the same level too. So I think it's got to be like a case by case basis.
I know I was really personally, I was really pumped when the Globe and Mail put out that article about Collingwood Film Co. because I have, I've sat around on a couple of decks talking to Jesse about just, Canadian film, about, waiting around until you can make something or actually going out and making it. And the fact that like they got this big headline, I can't remember. I'm going to try and pull it up, but just like the Rogue film company, the company that's operating like outside the lines, like what you were just talking about. How did that make you feel? You obviously read that article. Like, how did you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of them, and I'm very proud that they got that coverage. And the CSA Awards was like, we were all kind of like, I mean, not that I didn't think that any of them were deserved or anything, but at the same time, a lot of genre films specifically, and not massively funded films and stuff like that, don't get any kind of attention sometimes when it comes to like international or national recognition on a lot of different levels. So it was really cool seeing that and seeing people just enjoy and have fun with the film, and like not have to look at a film as being, oh, it's not about a serious topic and it's not about this and it's not about that. It's just a joy of filmmaking and just a good time. And like, sometimes that's what a good movie is. It doesn't have to necessarily make you, not that there's anything against, because I love films that make me think, and I love films that like break barriers and open up new doors and stuff. But sometimes a film is just fun, and that's okay.
You know what? It's and sorry, I just want to, just for our listeners out there. So the headline in the Globe and Mail was "Rogue Horror Film Company with 6 Canadian Screen Award nominations finds glory in guts," from Brad Wheeler at the Globe and Mail. Shout out to Brad Wheeler, because that's an awesome article, and a really great way to use kind of like a national spotlight to shine some light on a smaller Ontario company that's actually been making films like this for a number of years, with yourself and others. So awesome. You know what? It's funny. You just mentioned the movies that make you think and stuff like that. And me and my buddies, like growing up, we always had this kind of thing where we said, like, there's movies and there's films. And films are like, when I watch say like Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List or, Taxi Driver, like I consider those films. And I consider stuff like, even the Dark Knight trilogy or like Jurassic Park, like those are movies, right? Like they're made. And I think, it's funny because I think Scorsese was trying to say that about Marvel films, I think, when he got asked that question. And for some reason, I don't know why everyone thought they could break Scorsese over the coals, but like he was just saying, like, yeah, Marvel movies are like amusement park rides, like park rides. They're a little formulaic. Doesn't mean they can't be fun, but they're not necessarily like films. They're not necessarily like high grade cinema, which I would agree with, but also like you can enjoy both, I think. And I think that's important to remember, right? But also as well, like, that's why films, like silly films, can be 4 out of 5, and serious films can be 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5, because you just have to rate them in the context that they're provided in, right?
Yeah, I mean, and they can be both too. Like there's a lot of film movies out there that have like done things that have changed the way cinema was made too. And you look at James Cameron, you can use him as an example where you're like, is it a movie? Would you consider it a movie or a film in that context sort of thing, where you're like, you change the game with a lot of things, but it's still a popcorn flick at the same time.
I want to know how, like, I want to know how much James Cameron struts now. Like, I bet you he just struts everywhere. Cause when they were like, oh, Avatar 2, it's like, it needs to make 1.8 billion or something to break even. And he was just like, yeah, okay. Like, hold my beer. Like 2.8, whatever it made, like just 2.5 or whatever. Anyway,
he's not an idiot, and he knows international sales is what really matters overall. It's not just like domestic. He's looking at everything, and he knows he's an intelligent guy. I mean,
we were just talking about this on I think it was the last. I can't remember if we did this on air at all, Kelly, but we were talking about how especially coming out of the pandemic, like, and the box office and theaters being a lot of theaters being in jeopardy and people not knowing for sure whether or not audiences would come back. And, my take on this is like a lot of people said Top Gun 2 saved the box office. I'd say Top Gun 2 probably saved the domestic box office. And I think Avatar 2 probably saved the international box office. But two big budget, huge movies, right, that have done amazingly well and found their audiences yet again being sequels. So it's interesting to see how interesting to see how that plays out in the future. But myself and Kelly always talk about how horror is like sort of like it's holding down the box office consistently with decent quality projects. Good original stories, I think, is a big thing. People going into a theater not knowing actually what they're going to get. And an
audience that like such, I don't know if there's another audience that is like with horror audiences, like they're looking like we're addicts. We want, like, it's like, it's a ride. Like, it's like we need that. We're looking for something. And if it's not, if it's not our jam, then we'll look at the next thing and whatever. And you don't have to trash that because it's not for you. Maybe that next thing is, or maybe this is, or whatever. It's like, somebody's looking for something specific, and every time you go and then you find it, it's a ride. It literally thrills you, and every horror fan is gonna go and check it out because they're like, that might be my thing.
Yeah, sure. and when we did the Evil Dead, I think it was James from Shockstock who said this, was like Evil Dead 1 picked up steam because it was the movie that no one was supposed to see. And younger kids heard about it from older kids, right? And they said, "Oh yeah, you gotta watch this movie, but don't tell anybody about it." Yeah, don't tell anybody about it, right? So it's funny how that because kind of that still seems to have, I think, word of mouth still has legs at the box office, especially when it comes to horror, where it's like, "Oh yeah, that's a good movie, you should go and see it," and then people go, "Okay, well yeah, maybe I will," and then I think horror fans, I think we talk more than other film fans, I think, a little bit, right?
Sure.
So.
I feel like you can also get away with pretty much anything in horror. Like, as a genre, there's a lot more flexibility than you can find in pretty much anything else, even fantasy and sci-fi. Like, there's still some rules that you have to adhere to. Horror, there are no rules. Everyone can get away with pretty much anything you want. You can create any world you want. You can create any villain you want, any story you want. And people are just going to go along with it because they just want to have a good time. Yeah.
And it's horror it's like it's like the Borg from Star Trek. I know it sounds like absorbs. A biggie. It assimilates. Yeah, it takes every genre and can assimilate it all into horror. For sure, and like we want to see all of that. So like, absolutely, why not?
Yeah, perfect.
Resistance is futile, man. Go with it.
Before we go on a half-hour Star Trek tangent, listen, Barrett, thanks a lot for sticking around and being part of the program. Love having you back on. I was just saying, you're the first. You're the second person that's been on 3 times, I believe. I think Heather Buckley, and she was on the very, very first episode of this show, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, congratulations. You're a 3-time guest. So thank you very much for giving us your time, not only tonight, but the past 2 times as well. But please, before we go, let us know like what's coming up for you and what kind of film projects do you have coming up next?
I guess I got to promote that stuff too.
You don't have to. I
know. I mean, I want to, obviously. I know. I don't have the details of where, because we're going right into festival seasons. All the submissions are being made right now and everything. So I don't know where any of these are going to have their first screenings. I know one for sure it's already done its run. Chamber of Terror is going to be available to the public very soon. I don't know details on it, so I don't want to say anything before announcements are made or anything like that. So that's one of them, from Mike Pereira. And then Cult Hero obviously is out there. Same team who did Cult Hero from the Collingwood Film Co. We have a new one called the Hyperborean. The Hyperborean. It's a bit of a tongue twister. You got to say it a few times, but it's like
wait, does it have the Borg from Star Trek in it, or Borean?
I don't want to. No spoilers. Yeah, but it's. Expect more of what Collingwood gives you. It's a genre mashup. There's a crazy ensemble cast. It's hilarious, and I don't want to say anything because it melds in a lot of stuff. And if I say something, I might give something away that I'm not supposed to. And then so I shot that and 2 other films last summer. One of them was In a Violent Nature that's coming out very soon. That's a Shudder production. Chris Nash directed that.
Cool.
And it's I'm really stoked about that. There's an amazing special effects team involved. Steve Kostansky and bunch of people involved in that, and it's basically like if you're to take a slasher movie like Friday the 13th or anything that takes place kind of in the nature in the forest and meld it with an art house kind of perspective film from the killer's view. That's basically what this is, and it's like it's such a flip side of what most people have seen. So I haven't seen anything since we shot it, so I'm really stoked to see that and see where it goes.
What was that one called again?
In a Violent Nature.
Yeah, that's a great title too.
Yeah,
I think I heard that.
I think it's gonna do well because it was thinking of like how it was shot and the special effects and everything involved, and it's such a cool idea, and the script is really good. It's just I think that one.
Well, Steve's a FX genius, right?
Legend, yeah.
And watching it in person, and like Chris and like everyone on board they're all like geniuses when it comes to that stuff too, and you're watching them anyway. I don't want to give anything away because
we'll have to get Steve on the show too, because I'd love to have him. I'd love to pick his brain on everything special effects wise too, for sure. So, well, listen, Barrett, thanks so much. Go ahead.
I got to say a couple more, else I don't want to get in trouble. Cheat from Matchbox Pictures that I did Kingdom Come with a couple years back, and Open Your Eyes. Greg Sager. That one's kind of like an Adrian Lynn meets like Paul Verhoeven kind of like sexy thriller mystery kind of. I don't know. I don't want to say anything else but same thing. Shot that last summer. It's coming out. Another one, Dangerous Rumors. It's kind of more like it's like a crime heist. Lots of different characters, almost like a Pulp Fiction kind of intertwining characters, and all this crazy stuff happens.
Cool.
And Kilgore in the Grizzly Abyss, which is the DeRushi brothers. They're Mason DeRushi actually directed it, and it's an adult puppet like horror movie. It's kind of like a cross of Conan meets The Thing.
Okay.
And it's been shooting. It already it did its campaign, and we already recorded the voices for it, but we I don't know if we're re-recording. I don't know details yet. That one might still be doing some work, but that's it. All right, I got it all up. I'm just always afraid of leaving somebody out, and then I don't want anyone feeling
getting
bad.
angry emails. Yeah.
Well, listen, that's a full slate, and of course, I'm sure you'll be announcing stuff where people can check those films out when they're done, ready to go on the festival circuit. But that's super exciting, man. I mean, it's great to it's fun watching all of your films and what you've gone on to do. Of course, working with not only like the Collingwood guys and or the Collingwood team and the Black Fawn team and stuff like that, and you continue to work with. It's pretty easy to see why. I think your dedication and your sort of like your passion for not as anger, Kelly, as passion. But yeah, I mean, just like it's awesome to see that you continue to sort of like thrive in the industry and keep contributing to Canadian genre cinema. I think that's pretty awesome. So well done, sir. Well done.
Thanks, guys. As long as it's as long as people aren't yelling and screaming and want to watch the movies and don't have problems with me in it, then I'll keep doing it.
Well, listen, stick around, but when we go off the air, we'll catch up a little bit more after the show ends. But again, a big thanks to our viewership tuning in tonight. Of course, we were broadcasting live tonight to Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And of course, if you're catching the retransmission on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts or Amazon Music or whatever, we do appreciate you as well. Thank you very much. Of course, if you're looking to get in touch with myself or Kels with any sort of recommendation for the show, or have a question or want us to touch base on something or review something, please drop us a line at takeover@blackfawndistribution.com. Of course, we will be back in, we'll be back soon. Of course, our next episode is going to be the Hot Stove from Hell Terrifier edition, which is super cool. And then we'll have some more guests interviews coming up afterwards as well. Of course, I'm your host, Benner. Kels McNells, thank you again for running my co-pilot tonight, or being my co-pilot tonight. Really do appreciate you being here. And of course, our guest tonight, Ry Barrett, Canadian acting legend. I love saying that just because he's a guy I know, and people think I'm big stuff when I say it out loud. So thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode of Takeover Tuesday. And that does it for another episode of Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please remember to like, follow, share, and subscribe, and help us spread the word about the program and our incredible guests. If you're interested in grabbing some more information about Black Fawn distribution or want to check out our film titles and merchandise, you can find us online at blackfawndistribution.com. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Wellington Brewery's Hellas Lager, Deadly Grounds Coffee, Twisted Teas, and of course, Black Fawn Distribution. Just a reminder, you can always catch Black Fawn Distro's Takeover Tuesday live on Facebook, YouTube, and our other social media platforms. Or pick up one of our retransmissions on any of the major streaming platforms. Until next time, I'm your host Benner from Black Fawn Distro, and we'll see you soon.